Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and you are tuned into the Paranormally Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal. You are in the Paranormally Zone, your weekly dose of all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the continuously abstaining Mike Carbno. I didn't say you were a stain. I said you were abstaining.
I'm just a stain on the bed sheet of life.
Oh, man. And we're off to a great start here.
Yes,
on the
abstaining.
Zone.
You mean as in like abstinence, and as far as non-partaking.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Well, because, and I don't blame you, because our original plans for this week were another dive into true crime.
Yes.
But for various reasons, we decided to hold that off until next week, and we want to make sure that's a really awesome episode. And usually, Mike, to kind of soothe his soul during those demented and sometimes disgusting and disturbing deep dives into true crime, both of us partake in a beer or two to help us get through. I will have beer then. And so Mike was going to perhaps have an alcoholic beverage, but now he is abstaining like a good boy. So it's all wonderful. So it's all good.
Yes, I'm having Diet Coke, and then I have a unopened bottle of nice, cold, crisp, clear Food Club spring water.
Wow, that's really specific. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm happy for you. I am happy for you, Mike. It's good to see you again, my friend. It seems like it's been forever. Because
it has. It feels like it. Well, we were going to be the other evening, but I had some bad days and some bad. Boy,
I know, man. Things went rough, and things were rough, I should say, and oh, there you are, Mike. Mike froze up there for a second, but that's okay.
So did you. But yeah, it was tough, and then I got very, very frustrated, and I texted you saying, "Nope,
can
I do it?
Yeah,
can I do it?"
As the as the late President George Herbert Walker Bush would say, "Not
going good, not going good,
not gonna." So,
but yes, I went in and had a meeting with my supervisor and HR, and talked about certain things, talked about my ability to do my job. So HR took me off the patient rotation, he said, which means I am off the schedule until further notice again.
Man.
I got to get some paperwork done by my doctor and go from there.
Well, Mike, a positive spin that just jumped into my mind. Maybe this opens up even more time for another paranormal investigation. So
absolutely, I did the tweety on the twatter today.
Oh, that's
the tweet on the Twitter.
Wow,
Twitter, something like that.
That sounds like it should be looked at by a professional. Yeah,
I had no intention to say it that way, but anyway,
tweeting on the twatter. That's a private problem for off air. So
there's a wonderful picture of Patrick there, lost in some, I don't know, nipple high weeds.
At least nipple high. At least nipple high.
Boy, that was like what? Like a half a mile of walking through tick-infested greenery.
Yeah, apparently
shrubbery.
As we mentioned this briefly before, but that was quite the trek, and it was warm as hell out, and and Mike was using his cane, and
that kept getting caught up.
So maybe all the ticks were attracted to your cane or something.
I don't know. I got about 9 ticks. I got like 2 on the way home. I noticed they're crawling back my neck, and I threw them out the window. And then when I got home, I was finding ticks in places that
you didn't know you had.
You didn't usually like to find ticks in. So
yeah,
I hate wood ticks in the worst way.
And I was lucky enough. God. I was lucky enough not to get one. So
yes, well, lucky you.
Very, very happy. So
I could have shared with you a little bit.
So just like the rest of the biological life on Earth, I am a repellent of some sort.
Yes,
so,
you're a repellent of many things.
Yeah, so,
but yeah, I put that picture on there saying that we do need to plan some other road trip soon that we can get out and.
Well, if my brother Joe, Mr. Show, is listening right now, which I'm sure he isn't, we need to get back up to the Babbitt School, man, and do a proper investigation up there because that place is loaded with activities. So
yes, that you're not sure is real or not yet.
Hey, well, whatever. We'll talk about that another day. So
yeah, that's another.
Well, Mike, I would say in the paranormal world, all things paranormal, considering all things paranormal here. The big four, obviously, ghosts, Bigfoot,
yes,
aliens,
yes,
and the Loch Ness Monster,
yes, or cryptids in general.
Well, let's just go specifically with Loch Ness here because
absolutely,
we already said Bigfoot, and he's a cryptid or she.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, I wonder how Bigfoot identifies. Do you think Bigfoot identifies as a he or a she or an it? Or
probably identifies as a lampshade.
A lampshade for the day?
And likes to be called as such.
Okay, all right. Well, this is to all the lampshades out there. No,
I'm not making fun of anybody either because I'm saying that I'm referring to anybody can refer to whatever they. Well,
they're very sensitive.
They feel that they exactly.
There are very sensitive lampshades out there, and we do not have any intention of offending anybody. So
absolutely.
But getting back to the subject at hand, years ago, Mike, we did a deep dive. No pun intended. We didn't literally go to Loch Ness. You remember as that one critic pointed out to us on the twat a few weeks ago, about how we had no right to talk about these things because we haven't been to the locales ourselves.
Don't be a Pedro.
Oh, that's right. That's what his name was.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, Pedro, we did not go out there. If that's your real name, we don't know if that's your name or not. We have not gone to Scotland. We have not swam in the loch.
I wish to.
We have not rented giant boats and sonar and all sorts of underwater photography equipment. We have not done that, but we are still going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes, we are.
And
it's not about things that we know as fact. It's things that we talk about as possible fact.
Absolutely, man.
We talk about things that we absolutely believe in that might not even be fact.
Very well said.
Seriously, we don't have the answers. We just have the questions and sometimes pseudo answers. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to say dive in quite a bit, and it's going to bother me because we're talking about a large body of water and its supposed resident. But we will dive into that shortly. But I wanted to say something real quick about an alleged experience that my daughters experienced last week or earlier this week. It might have been earlier this week, actually. And it was quite interesting because my daughter Macy just turned 15, for God's sakes, yesterday. Her birthday was yesterday.
Amazing. I remember when she was about the size of a eraser head.
I know, man. A very large eraser head, but eraser head.
Eraser on the pencil.
And Jaden is going to be 14 shortly. And, long story short, I just went downstairs before we started recording here because I wanted them to refresh my memory as to what they experienced. Long story short, Jaden was in her bedroom. Macy was in the downstairs bathroom. I believe she was taking a shower at the time. And Jaden was doing her thing when she heard what she thought she heard was Macy outside of her door talking to her, but she couldn't understand what she was saying.
Oh, wow.
And she heard it so clearly and it was so loud and obvious to her that she got up and unlocked her door. She always has her door locked, by the way, which is fine. I understand that they want privacy, but for safety reasons for parents, it's like, God damn it, don't lock your door.
Well, you can take your 140-pound body and mash up against a door and open it up.
Hey, 145, buddy. 145.
There you go. Get it all in there.
Gosh, and there's every ounce of power behind all of that stuff too. So,
well, yeah, your adrenaline would kick in.
Oh, of course it would. Of course it would. So,
but
anyway, so she gets up and she unlocks her door, opens it up, only to see that no one is there.
Mm.
And at this point, Macy was in her bedroom, and Jaden went and knocked on her door and opened up and asked her, said, did you just talk to me? And were you at my door? And Macy's like, no. She just got out of the shower and went immediately to her room. And so that was interesting. And then the next day, Macy was in her room and she heard knocks on her door and what she thought was her door handle opening, but her door was locked as well. And then she says that Jaden always does that because she'll knock and then she'll try to open my door and just come on in. Then Macy responds and she's like, yeah. Then nothing happens. Yeah. Nothing. She gets up, opens the door. No one's there. Jaden's not even downstairs. Jaden's been upstairs talking with Bridget for however long.
And nobody else was downstairs.
Nobody else was downstairs. And she ran upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she ran, but she hurried upstairs and she saw that Jaden was up there talking to Bridget, and she's like, what? Did you just did you knock on my door and shake my door handle? And Jane's like, no, I've been up here for a long time. So that's really interesting. And just talking to them just a couple minutes ago, Mike, I can still see it in their faces.
Right.
Their eyes get wide and then they're kind of excited because they're like, yeah, this was really weird, and I believe them 100%. Who knows what it was, but makes you wonder.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, 2 days in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happens to both of them.
Yes.
And I'm sure they couldn't make out any words or anything, or it's just, and they probably couldn't even tell if it was a male or a female voice.
Nope. All that Jaden says that she thought it was Macy, and she thought it clearly sounded like words to her, like someone was speaking, like someone was speaking to her through her door. And, she couldn't decipher any words or anything.
Well, and that's common with paranormal things like that, where I've had that happen to me more than a few times, where you can hear the voice, whether it's whispering or whatever. It's somebody talking, there's words being said, but you cannot make out. And you read that a lot in a lot of different things, paranormal events like that.
Yeah. People.
So that's something to think about.
Their personal encounters, when they describe it, they mention that quite a bit, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
That's interesting, man.
I think you need to do, like you always have told me, do some, start putting some stuff up.
Absolutely.
See what you can catch. I mean, especially when you've had this 2 days in a row. I mean, it could be common enough to where you can actually pick something up if you just give it a couple of shots.
And and there's been so many weird experiences that I mean, even I have had here in the house, and I mean, this goes back over a decade when well, as longtime listeners know, I've had failed relationships. I'll just put it that way. And
we all have
the failed relationship at that time had 3 children, and one of them was a 3-year-old boy his bedroom was downstairs. And Mike's you're shaking your head like, yeah, I remember this. And
I do very well.
Always swore that there is someone down there that he always used to talk to. And he called him C. For whatever reason, he always called him C. I don't know if it was because he saw him, and he's like, I see him type thing. But that was so that's interesting. I mean, who knows? Who the hell knows what's going on? But it's fun to talk about.
There's too many things that have happened, even if it takes a long time between each event, that to make you think of something and try to catch something. I mean, you don't really know much of the history of the house besides your family that's lived there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't even know the name of the prior owners of the house. Right. So, I mean, that's stuff I can easily find.
Oh, sure. And how old is the house? I mean, not that always matters. But.
It doesn't matter. This house is fairly young. It's only like 40 some years old, I think. Yeah. It was built in the 80s. So
still plenty of time. Well, look at how long that land has been there.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Who knows what could have been there before or close by before. There could have been a cabin on the lake close by that goes back 200 years.
Well, when you look in the backyard here, man, there's, I I just have a feeling that there wasn't, like you said, like an older, not, I was going to say settlement, not a settlement, but definitely an older building that was here before this house was put up.
In your yard or in the woods?
In kind of both, because I mean, I know this doesn't mean anything, but going back to the day back in the late 90s when my mother originally purchased this house.
Right.
And, you know, and she moved on, jeepers, I don't know. How long ago was this now? 15 years ago. And Bridget and I own the house now. Mm-hmm. And there was an old beaten down, and again, this doesn't mean anything, but out in the woods in the far corner of the property, there was an old outhouse that was back there.
What do you mean that's nothing? That, you know what that tells you?
What does that tell me?
That there is an extremely old, you know, could have been turn of the century, 1900s, late 1800s.
Yeah.
A dwelling or a house was there that had an outhouse.
Dwelling, that's a perfect word. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm going to do? Okay, the outhouse is probably gone now, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It's long gone. Long gone.
You know what we need to do? We need for me to bring a couple of metal detectors.
Ooh, there you go.
To your place and go around that area in your backyard, because if it's partly on your yard, you know, who knows what your actual backyard was used for? It could have been like a front yard, or it could have been, who knows, or, you know, wherever, where the front door of this place was, or, well, you can kind of get an idea of that by the, where the outhouse would have been. Maybe there was a house right where your house is now.
Right. Right. So, I mean, this is something, Mike, this is my fault, my bad. I've always wanted to do some thorough research into the history of this property, and I've just never got around to it, you know. So.
Well, I tell you, you know, I have a metal detector, and my sister-in-law, she will definitely borrow me. Well, they have like 2 or 3 of them, and they're very good ones. And nice. We should just hit your yard and see what comes up. I mean, they could give us an idea. Yeah. Of a time frame of, like, maybe we find a coin that's got some dates on it that go way back, or who knows, items that were lost or buried somewhere. Yeah,
I'm down for that, man. I'm down. For that.
We got to do that.
Well, there's another plan to notch up.
You know? Yeah. Well, and we can do some spirit box stuff at the same time out there.
Mike,
some EVP stuff or whatever.
Yep. You got to make a trip here, man. You got to do it.
That's easy enough. I mean, geez, like, yeah, we got to do that. We could definitely find some stuff and get a little bit of an answer.
Yeah.
As well as any kind of research you can do.
Nope. I'm looking forward to that one again. All right.
Awesome. Okay. Write it down.
All right, Mike. Loch Ness Monster. The Legend of Loch Ness. Now, this is something that I have always been just utterly fascinated with since I was a little kid. You know, the same thing with Bigfoot. I would say it was Bigfoot and a close second, followed by Loch Ness, you know.
Yes, since you're a wee lad.
Since I was a wee little lad. And even, well, I mean, ghosts, I've always been interested in them. But as a young boy, Bigfoot was number 1, Loch Ness probably number 2. Because how could you not be fascinated with the idea of some long-lost, supposedly ginormous sea beast living in a freshwater loch?
Well, and it has the same feeling and allure as, you know, Bigfoot in the big woods, you know, like you got some sea monster in the big loch.
Yep. And of course, me being a dinosaur nerd, you know, dinosaur.
Exactly.
I just love the idea that this could possibly be a surviving plesiosaur, you know, that was supposedly gone extinct 65 million years ago, but maybe a small family survived. I mean, who knows? There's hundreds of theories, but
it would have to be a family that could keep reproducing to keep the sightings going.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just something that I've always loved. I've been fascinated with as a kid. I mean, even though the surgeon's photo, what's known as a surgeon's photo, was was debunked. You know, it's proven to be a fake.
Yeah, from the 30s. I was always fascinated with that as a kid, and then I remember actually I don't know when it was debunked, but I remember the first time I heard that it was debunked, and the whole story about it, this wood cut out or whatever, and put on like a toy boat or a submarine or something.
Yeah, it was exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it was disappointing, but I was like, yeah, it's one of those things of, well, it is too good to be true because it's
exactly.
You know, but the image endures, though, man. You do just type in Loch Ness Monster. I guarantee that's the first thing that pops up.
That's what you'll see.
So it has a legacy. It definitely has.
It definitely has its place in Loch Ness lore, even though it was debunked.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Some other photos that I'm having memories now. I'm being flooded with memories of looking through some of these books I would rent from the school library, or check out from the school library as a kid. And some of those famous photos, man, from like the 1970s. I wrote it down, actually, the exact year. I think it was 1975. Yeah, 1975, Boston's Academy of Applied Science put together a couple week-long investigation of the loch, which included sonar and underwater photography. And some of the photos, well, one photo in particular is one that utterly fascinated me. It still does.
The flipper?
The flipper, yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
my God, I love that.
I mean, It was... the picture itself is very grainy, but when it gets they run it through the computer and it gets cleansed, I guess, however way you want to describe it, it's like, that looks like a flippin' flipper.
Yeah, and if you look at renditions of, like in the dinosaur books, of a plesiosaur, with the skin on, not just the bones that have been found, the fossilized bones, but you look at the flippers on them, and it's every bit as what is on that sonar. Yeah,
if it was something other than that, and what a coincidence. I mean,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's like almost an astronomical number as to.
Yeah, but the only thing that I think about that too is that is how great it looks, but is there any scale that they can get from just that sonar?
Great question.
Photograph, or because what if it's like speaking of scale, what if it's an actual single scale off of like a big carp or something,
Oh gosh,
or
I see what you're
sturgeon,
saying. Yeah, I gotcha. I mean,
but no, it just looks so much. I mean, because like some scales look like that on those type of things, but
sure.
But it's so flipper. Like I hate to let go of that as the possibility.
That photo is one that sticks out to me. Another photo, I'm just going back to the old classics. A lot of these old, black and white ones, of course, because those are the ones that stick with me, just because I grew up with them. Basically, the one where it's like an aerial shot, or I don't think it's an aerial shot.
Like with the castle in the background.
The castle in the background, and you see that what looks like just this, whatever it is, a giant shape. Like moving towards the castle.
Love that shot.
I could be absolutely wrong on this. Listeners, correct me if I am. Is that a still from a video? Is there like a video clip, like a camcorder clip of that? Or am I utterly off the wall here? I might be, but for some reason I'm picturing like this movement, a black and white film of this thing kind of.
Yeah. Well, and if it's not, there are definitely there is definitely film footage of things like
that. We'll get to that as a possible we'll get to what that could possibly be, or what could possibly be causing these undulations in the water, or the sightings that people think.
Undulation.
I like that word. Yeah, undulating.
There's so much that goes through my mind picturing when I hear that word, undulation.
That's what Mike does when he's in the bathtub. He undulates.
Yeah, I like creating the waves and pretending I'm the Loch Ness Monster.
He's the Loch Ness Monster.
Just call me Nessie.
There you go.
I'm undulating.
Yeah, that's what. And Mary just lets him be for a while, and she closes the door and hears Mike splashing away in the water, and making all these high pitched
brings me
squeals.
A Diet Coke once in a while. Oh, look, he's breaking wind. He's breaking water.
Breaking wind in the water. That'd be great. Yeah, that's talk about an EVP. Man alive, that'd be something to record. Another flatulence of the paranormal type I can put on the soundboard here. But moving on. And then
I put up little green army men along the bathtub and just pretend that they're hunting my lawn.
I can see Mike doing that. Oh yeah, and it would let's see, what else can I picture? Maybe Mary can bring you like a rubber animal balloon type thing, or those animal balloon deals, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And you won't have to turn it into an animal. You just use I'm making a very adult like gesture.
What are you doing with that pen?
Okay, moving on. Moving on. We're
Anyway, yes. Enough levity for that section.
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous there, Mike. Thanks for that one. You and your childish humor. All right, let's see here. Oh, moving on. Loch Ness. I'm sorry, I'm kind of distracted right now because Mike is frozen again, boys and girls. So I'm talking over him, and there he's back.
Yep, you're back too. We both locked up.
We did lock up, but don't worry, I'm able to cover because I'm a professional.
Yes, so, Zoom must be busy this evening.
It might be. I'm not sure. I'm kind of going over my professional notes here, Mike. Here, I'm right here. My professional notes are second to none. All right, let's just do this. Let's do it this way. I want to talk about the absolutely bizarre, perhaps the most bizarre theory for what's going on in the loch. I want to talk about that right off the bat. Yes,
shoot it out.
This is one I think we did talk about like 5 years ago as an alternate realm podcast episode. Longtime listeners may remember. We're talking about the loch somehow being a time portal. We're talking about people's sightings of this mysterious beast. They're not necessarily seeing the same creature or same families of creatures. They're seeing something, some being that is slipping in and out of those darn time portals, Mike, from another dimension. Do you remember talking about that?
I do, very well.
Now, well, first and foremost, do you buy into that at all as a possibility?
Well, I believe in time portals anyway, so why not? I mean, It is a possibility.
Do you how much so do you buy the concept of the Loch Ness Monster, all of its sightings being accounted for as simply, well, not simply, but as magically, as mystifying as being examples of parallel universes, Mike? And that could go along for anything. That could go along for ghost sightings. That could go along for
absolutely
for
Bigfoot,
aliens,
of
for
course.
Bigfoot, absolutely.
Yes.
And we've talked about this several times. But how about that? People aren't seeing an actual creature right there. They're kind of basically walking into a time slip. They see what they believe to be a solid object, but it's not actually existing in this realm at that moment. It's just something that's broke through that proverbial veil again. What do you buy about that? What do you think about that?
Well, if it's a time slip, like you had mentioned, would that be from our own universe, our own planet, from a previous millennia from us? Or is it, if it's a dimensional thing where that veil breaks down and it comes through, that could be any number of other places on the other side where they came from. Both, I think, are plausible. Could happen.
Okay.
In my thinking or my beliefs. If it's a time portal type of situation and they come through as a living creature, a living plesiosaur that they are reported to possibly be, why? The question I have is, why is it only the plesiosaur that we see come through when they're on the other side at that different time, different dimension, whatever, different time?
Great question.
There are so many other creatures from back at that time that why don't they slip through? Why isn't there other sea creatures that are possibly seen? Why isn't like a Tyrannid today, but the bird, the flying leathery,
the pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Why aren't they flying? Well, actually, there are places where pterodactyls have been seen, but not in that portal or possible portal of Loch Ness. But
that's a great point, though, Mike. I mean, why are the descriptions usually very similar? It's never anything that's obviously like another. Well, we saw a triceratops the other day on the road, right outside of the loch. We came across a brachiosaurus. It was damn near 60 feet tall. Where the hell did that son of a bitch come from?
Well, and those sightings are in like the Amazon, where they could live and not be seen, except for if the time is right coming across them or whatever. But, but this whole thing about the Loch Ness, I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
That point right there that you made makes me personally not buy into this being an example of like a parallel universe situation going on here. Just because, like you said, it's the same description usually of what people see. So it's like, man, we're talking an infinite number of universes. We're talking an infinite number of possibilities, but yet all people see is the same creature.
And when there's so many that could be coming through.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll throw the parallel universe example out the window, but we're not saying that they don't exist, obviously.
Right.
That stuff just starts blowing my mind, by the way. Just thinking about, well, right now there's a parallel universe where we have 1 million Patreon subscribers. So
yeah, yeah. Or there's a parallel universe where we haven't even started our first episode yet.
Yeah, exactly. I know. This wacky, weird stuff like that. Yes.
And and that's the universe where Patrick is usually sitting in an easy chair in a dirty T-shirt.
Why a dirty T-shirt?
Drinking beer.
What?
And just kind of slobbering a little bit. That's that dimension's
that sounds like me right now, doesn't it? A little bit.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you got your hand tucked into your tighty whities that you're wearing. And
I do not wear tighty whities, so no matter what universe that is in, I am not wearing
print panties.
And definitely not leopard print panties. But hey, you never know. An infinite number of chances. Who knows what I'm wearing? So
yeah.
Quickly, guys. When we're done recording this episode here, we're going to record Patreon episode number 51 for the Paranormal Zone. Talk about seeming like it's been forever. It has been a while since we've done episode 50, so we need to get that done. We're going to be diving into something we have never, ever talked about. We're talking about the Jersey Devil, the legend of the Jersey Devil. That's going to be pretty interesting.
We've never talked about that.
Ever. Definitely not as a topic, for sure.
Haven't we? Oh, no. We have talked about it as a cryptid.
Well, we've mentioned it maybe briefly.
Mentioned it, yes.
But we've never done there it is again, deep dive into the legend. But we're going to have fun talking about
yes, we will.
The story of the Jersey Devil, the legend of the Jersey Devil, and throw out some of our ideas of what this possibly could be. What is some potential explanations for what?
Got an idea, but I'm going to save it for the.
Yeah, of course.
The Patreon.
But we got lots of great stuff coming on the Paranormal Zone Patreon page. We do have patrons, believe it or not. So
yes, we do.
And we get nothing but positive feedback from them. We appreciate all you guys so much. Hey, shout out to Gene, by the way. You know who you are, Gene, for signing up as Patreon to the Paranormal Zone. We can't thank you enough. We hope you enjoy the content and you stick around for a while because we're just getting started on that. Anyways, Loch Ness. Let's talk about some of the supposed explanations of this, Mike. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first and foremost, this stuff has been going on for how long? How long? I got to look at my notes. I have written down here 1,500 years ago. That's 1,500 for those out there who don't understand.
A plethora of centuries.
Goes back to the story of an Irish missionary named Saint Columba, who supposedly, during his journey
came from down south somewhere.
What are you laughing at? He supposedly encountered a beast alongside the river Ness in 565 A.D. He was traveling there on account of hearing stories of this beast allegedly killing people in and about the loch. And when encountering this large beast, he huffed and puffed and threw some godly phrases towards the beast for never to be seen again.
Handfuls of sand.
A lot of sand. Definitely a lot of sand.
But see, that was all before the Treaty of 1612 between the Loch Ness and the beings of the human beings of the
There are sketches.
Area.
There are sketches of that agreement. Nessie looks very scholarly.
Yes,
he's sitting down at a desk. He has
looks much younger.
A lot younger. Yes. Not quite as rotund. He's a lot thinner. He has these giant bicepectacles on. He looks intellectual. It's good.
Holding a tiny pen in his flipper.
Well, he had to have someone sign for him because He doesn't
Didn't
have
make his mark.
No, he doesn't have any, as people say, disposable thumbs.
Disposable.
So, yeah, he couldn't hold on to that darn pen. No. There's no such thing as a treaty. It's signed by Nessie. But the modern day sightings really started to take off starting in the 1930s, and particularly of an account dating back to 1933. Yes, I'm reading from my professional notes here. May 2nd, 1933.
Morocco, part of Sahara Desert.
Oh, you're reading my back.
You're reading the back of your page. You got it up to the.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. I'm telling you, they're my thorough professional notes. Any hoozle. This date, 1933, an article in the that was shared by newspaper correspondent Alec Campbell. He reported a sighting from one Aldi McKay, or Mackey, however you want to pronounce it, where Aldi said she saw a large whale-like creature that was churning and cascading in the loch. Not undulating, Mike, I'm sorry to say, but churning and cascading. 1933, and Mr. Campbell, when bringing it to his boss, his editor, the editor says, "Oh, really? That's really interesting. Let's add the word monster to this report." Such the word the phrase Loch Ness Monster began, and the tidal wave of, I guess, hype, and the story just grew and grew and grew from there. And we're talking about thousands of sightings. I think it's maybe not thousands. I believe there have been at least 1,000 documented sightings of this creature.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, absolutely not.
Are they all just making up stuff? I guarantee you, not one of those person has earned a dime from saying they saw a creature. Do you think anyone has?
Well, no, and they could not. They maybe not have even been in it for money. There's just been just a slight jolly that they got, and they're good.
Well, that's true. I mean, people just like fibbing as well for whatever reason. You know, that's just what they do.
Got a tingle up their spine, and they're happy.
Yeah, I don't even know how to say that. I'll respond to the word tingle. I don't know. We're going all sorts of ways for this episode here. A couple facts about the loch itself here before we move on. It is the Great Britain's largest volume of fresh water, 23 miles long, and at its deepest point, 800 feet deep, with an average depth of 455 feet.
Try and reach the bottom of that holding your breath.
Yeah. Good luck on that one, man. Good luck.
Yeah.
Now, going back to some of these explanations. First and foremost, it's simply a big old giant eel. Mike, what do you think about it being a big old giant eel?
Well, you hear of giant eels, but but could it be? I don't think so, because there's some of the photographs and some of the footage that they have do show like the humps coming out of the water. Now, could that be the undulation of an eel going on top of the water? Mm-hmm. Or could it be humps on the back of something? Can't really identify it that way, but
could it be the hump? I don't know.
There have been reports of heads coming up out of the water. I don't think so much photographs, but anywhere from like what looked like a horse's head to the head of something that is a definable shape of a creature's head.
And that's a very common description, is that looks like a massive horse head.
Exactly. And that is not what an eel head would look like.
I don't know. I just like how you say eel for some reason.
Eel.
That's what it made me laugh when he said eels.
I got to tell you, when eels are prepared the right way, they're quite tasty.
Oh.
But anyway.
Good Lord, that made me want to vomit a little bit there. So,
well, don't knock it till you try it.
Don't knock it till you try it, he says. Okay, well, I'm not going to try eel anytime soon. So,
well, I will the next time I get a chance. I will have some.
So what? Okay, just to spite me? Is that what you're going to do?
No, just because I like it.
Oh, I can see you.
I like it at all.
I can see you filming yourself. Here I am, Patrick, eating this
there
tasty.
You go. I will do that.
Maybe I'm laughing because that's part of a Monty Python sketch where it's a man who was trying to speak English, and he's using a book of translation. And he keeps using the wrong phrases.
Yeah.
And one of them, he's like, that's John Cleese. He's reading from it, and he goes like, "Arias." He goes, "Arias, right here. My hovercraft is full of eels." And he's like at a smoke shop, and he's trying to buy some cigarettes.
Yeah. My hovercraft is full of eels.
My hovercraft is full of eels. Maybe that's why it made me laugh.
Okay.
Any hoozle. Yeah, I'm not too sure about the eel explanation. For some sightings, yeah, of course.
Sure. Misinterpretation of what you're seeing. And your mind will see something and it will be reacting to something that it's totally different than that's not there. It's how your mind perceives it as well.
Oh, 100%. I remember, I don't know if this is, help me out again if I'm wrong, listeners, but I remember, now am I remembering something that's real or am I remembering a false memory? Because that's very possible. I swear I read or heard, again, years ago, people claiming that some of these sightings were actually swimming elephants. I am not joking.
Scotland's full of them.
And they're saying, they're swimming with its trunk out of the water, and therefore, and the top of its head is a hump. There you go. The famous
Belfast, Ireland. There has been an escape of many elephants from the Belfast Zoo.
I'm telling
you, they have been
man.
heading toward Loch Ness. Be on the lookout for elephant tusks and whatever.
Just stop. Yeah.
I'm quitting there.
You got to know when to quit. Yeah, like you said, Mike. I think you hinted at it. Scotland is famous for its herds of elephants. So.
Yeah.
Now I lost my train or my path of notes here. Oh, another one is an archaeoct. Oh wait, sorry, archaeocti.
Archaeocti.
I butchered it again. Site. There we go. Archaeoxite. Oh. You want to know what the hell that is? This is something that actually existed, Mike. It's a primitive whale that went extinct 18 million years ago. It was a primitive whale that had a long serpentine neck. Because whales have have evolved a hell of a lot. I mean, they used to be land animals, for Christ's sake, land mammals, and they used to talk about undulating. They undulated quite a bit back in the day. But,
if there are people that explain it as that, why the hell couldn't there be a plesiosaur there?
There you go, right?
It's like both. Well, both would be a real awesome story.
It's like, no, I draw the line at plesiosaur. No way in hell is that a plesiosaur. It's an 18 million year old serpentine thought to be extinct whale.
That is more attainable as truth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah. And Bigfoot is responsible for all the UFO. Bigfoot pilots all the UFOs too, by the way, Mike. So in case you didn't know that. Isn't there a sighting of Bigfoot riding along the humps of a Loch Ness Monster or something?
Yeah, hair flying everywhere.
Wet, stinky Bigfoot. Yep. Now
another you hear a loud Yahoo once in a while. Big smile on Bigfoot's face.
Why not?
Anyway, go ahead.
Sounds like fun, man. Another one here, and I did read this. This is no joke. One explanation, Mike, for all the sightings of Nessie. It's quite simply a huge frog.
Why not?
I'm not joking.
Why not?
A massive, massive frog.
Yeah, and they live off of the 8,000-pound flies that are flying around there.
Right, exactly. And what size of lily pads does this beast need?
Oh, jeez.
Goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire here. Another explanation? Well, we've heard several. We've heard, help me out here, Mike, off the top of my head. Have we not heard sturgeon as a possible explanation?
Sturgeons are kind of an explanation for a lot of things.
Somehow, am I wrong on this one? Somehow these are extinct because man hunted them to extinction, like a stellar sea cow type thing,
right?
Like the giant manatee looking monster. Which, by the way, has that fairly recent photo that was taken, I believe, in 2018, maybe 2017. I know you've seen it. That's a pretty darn clear picture. It looks like a large, and don't laugh, a large, fleshy, bulbous body of some sort that is clearly rising out of the water. You can see it's kind of like the pinkish and dark speckled flesh, and it's not you or anything like that on there.
I was going to say, there has been some times where I've gone on vacation and swam nude in the Loch Ness.
Okay,
large, bulbous, fleshy.
There you go. Yeah, undulating up and down.
Oh, look, it's got a wee bit of a tentacle on it. Oh, that's not like Loch Ness. Nessie. Nessie's not known to have tentacles.
No tentacles, just flippers. One, yeah. I don't think you have anything that would qualify as a tail either. So, yeah, nothing.
It's got a long, squiggly nose.
Didn't realize that that Nessie wore a scully all the time in the water. Sorry.
He's got a scully made of denim on his head.
Why is he wearing a shirt? Why is he wearing a shirt that says, "I am not the Loch Ness Monster"? I just don't get it. Okay.
Where's that? I wear my Gone Squatching t-shirt.
There you go. So no, that I don't think that photo has been debunked or proven either way. But the only problem with that photo, and I can tell that you're not really remembering it right now, which I don't blame.
I'm not.
I don't blame you. I'll send it to you when we're done recording. Remind me to do that. The only thing that holds, well, frankly, everybody back from saying, yeah, that's really interesting, is because you can't get a proper scale of where the photo was taken.
Right.
It's obviously up. It's on the land of the loch. It's elevated above the water, but you can't tell how far above the water, so you don't know what that is.
Yeah. Well, something like that. Like the way it was described. I mean, could have there been a time where like some pilot whales or some beluga whales have gotten into the loch and just for a short amount of time and exited again. I don't know.
Who the hell is to say that isn't a possibility, man? Oh, another explanation. This is more of along the lines of science. Those darn scientists.
You got to have it.
I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm not going to bother trying. I'll spell it. It's SIECHES. Psyches. I'm not sure, but these are simply oscillations on the surface of the water caused by an inflow of cold river water to the warmer loch water. And so that causes all of these weird, shapes kind of appearing on the surface,
it's more like current type.
Current, yeah. And they look darker. The water looks of a different tone, I guess, from the surface of the water. So it looks like something maybe coming up out of the water.
Sure.
Who knows? And that's a phenomenon of nature that happens so many places, Mike, in so many bodies of water. I just saw something the other day that was a very recent video clip posted on social media from Lake Champlain, supposedly a video capture of Champ. And it looks, it's like, I can see that. Looks like from a distance, it looks like a frickin' some sort of beast, has got his head out of the water and swimming away from the distance. And you can tell it's legit because it's a parent who's filming something that his or her two little kids spotted, and they're down by the shore and they're all excited. They're pointing towards, what is that? And you can tell that there's something out there, but what is it? Who knows? I mean, is it a creature or is it simply one of these, whatever the hell it is?
Oh yeah. And then, what if like a large tree stump or a log is floating and gets caught up in that, which kind of adds like some kind of a solid form to it that might be seen in that current. Because I know that there have been,
that's one of the famous photos of Champ that was like with the head and neck sticking out of water. It's actually just more than likely, like you said, like a log with a branch. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you there. I apologize.
No.
I'm looking at my professional notes here again. Moving on, Mike. I want to get to the recent study that was released.
Yes, very interesting.
The news of a recent study conducted by researchers from the University of Bath and University of Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. Long story short, this research, this week-long study, well, several weeks-long study, resulted in the discovery of several fossils. This is where what you said earlier, Mike, you're reading my notes. Several fossils were discovered of small plesiosaurs in what used to be an ancient riverbed located in what is now Morocco's part of the Sahara Desert.
Right.
Now you're thinking, what, Sahara Desert? Plesiosaurs? Well, 100 million years ago, 100 million years ago, this was covered in fresh water. And the study team, the study group said they discovered over a dozen different specimens.
And one baby.
Yes. The largest was 9 foot long adult. And the baby, a bone that they discovered from a baby was the body they estimated to be about 5 feet long. Long story short, the head research member says, you know what, even though we've always labeled plesiosaurs as a marine reptile, who's to say that they couldn't or didn't exist in fresh water? Water. I mean, I don't know. I'm holding my hands up and like, what say you on that one?
Well, they're highly adaptable if they needed to be, and they could exist in either one.
Oh, gosh, 100%. Why wouldn't they? Oh, Mike's coughing. Sorry. That's why his response was very short.
I've been kind of battling a cold for the last few days, too.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but anyway, it's getting better. But anyway, and this area in Morocco, I mean, it kind of proves, if they know for a fact that was fresh water, you know, that proves that it's possible that it can be in Loch Ness.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the point of that whole research, is that you read all the headlines, and all the headlines about this say the plausibility of Loch Ness, or the Loch Ness Monster is now, quote unquote, plausible. And basically 90% of the article is still kind of debunking it, or debunking the possibility of this large, thought to be extinct creature is still living and residing, or family of creatures is still living and residing in this loch, in and about the loch. But they're not 100% dismissing it. And that's what I'm clinging on right there.
Right. So, exactly.
And that means a lot to me. When they at least they're admitting that they can't dismiss it. Right.
Exactly. That is a step in the right direction.
Which reminded me, I wanted to read something real quick. I got to pull it up on my phone here. Because I just love how it was written. I want to see if I can light a fire under Mike's ass here for a second.
Oh, boy.
The scientific community explains okay, let me rephrase that, or re-emphasize the words. The scientific community, Mike, explains alleged sightings of the Loch Ness Monster as hoaxes, wishful thinking, and or the misidentification of mundane objects. Followed by the pseudoscience and subculture of cryptozoology has placed emphasis on this creature. So I wanted to point out the pseudoscience and the subculture of cryptozoology. I mean, why are people so damned if they're open to this? Why even people in the science, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Mike, how much crap has he gone through by his his peers, by his colleagues? And he's like, why aren't you interested in this? What is wrong with searching into this? We're all on the same team of science here.
Yeah.
I don't get is it fear? What is it? Well, Mike's really
I was going to say that, I think there is fear in some of these people as part of it. There's how they were taught that they cannot deviate from, that everything that's needed to be learned about something or a specific thing is done. There's science says that it has to be this way, and they aren't going to think any different.
Yeah.
And it closes their mind to the possibility of a huge scientific find that could be the biggest thing of the last 5 centuries. Mm-hmm. But they can't accept it because science says.
Yeah. And again, it's like, well, science as far up to what the scientists know already, you know? And so
science can't be wrong. Science can't be wrong.
But so I take that back to my how I've always phrased it. It's like, well, if we know everything already, then why are we bothering? Why
exactly.
Why are scientists still out there?
They're there to just keep that agenda going.
Apparently, I don't get it, and it's so frustrating. I feel for, if you haven't listened right now, Jeff Meldrum talks about quite in depth on our chat with him, and and I think it's unfortunate, and I'm sure he gets a bad rap with a lot of his fellow colleagues and scientists, but I think he's doing wonderful work by.
Oh, absolutely, it's important work. I mean,
very important.
And I think there is an agenda. Now, this isn't me being some conspiracy thing because I'm not 100% sure of this, but the possibility of some kind of an agenda where our history is laid out by science or who knows whatever else there might be out there. I'm not saying some secret government or the Illuminati. I'm not saying any names or anything like that. But what if there's a reason that whoever needs to keep it on the same track as it's always been, because there are too many things that are real, that are fact, that are known, but it has to be kept under wraps. It has to be kept into that category of this is just legend or whatever. When things have been found that would say different. That forbidden archaeology thing, like the hammer that's found in a chunk of coal or whatever that's millions of years old, or a chunk of rock or whatever it is. It
doesn't make sense as to why it's there. Because it doesn't fit. It's. I see what you're saying. So many of those things have been found where just the age of the item doesn't match its surroundings.
Right, and then you show that, and then science says, well, the carbon dating or the dating of that, it cannot be done, and it was done wrong or whatever. I mean, there's something going on to where there's so much that we should know that has gone on in our own country, in our own backyards, that are just not meant to be shared because of some reason, or they need to be shared, but for some reason they aren't. There could be scientific proof right now that the Loch Ness Monster is real, the Bigfoot is real, but no, can't let that out. It's like UFOs and aliens. If we let that out, then there's going to be a
mass panic or something.
Mass panic, and religion will no longer be able to exist. It'll shake everybody's belief in whatever.
Drat, drat a little bit on that one. I mean, if I'm not ripping on anybody who finds strength in their religion.
Absolutely not.
I applaud you. I really do and stuff. But let's face it.
I respect the faith of anybody.
Absolutely. But let's face it. I mean, it's essentially been the root of all wars, has it not?
Yeah. So, but look at the very first Planet of the Apes movie, Dr. Zaius. Look at what he did to and his ilk, what they did to hide that mankind was dominant over apes to begin with.
Well,
hid that away in a cave.
I like how you said the word ilk as well. So it was very similar to how you said eels. So
yes, his ilk. Eels and ilk of it all.
I think another thing that John Cleese says to him, he goes, "If I said you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me?" Again, trying to buy cigarettes. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. I'm looking through this article. We're running out of time here, so I want to try and hit a few things. According to Ronald Binns, who is a former member of the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau, he says there's probably no single explanation of the monster. Binns wrote 2 skeptical books. in 19, and he's, well, of course it wrote, they spelled it like skeptical with a C. Ugh, skeptical. I don't like that. 1983 book, The Loch Ness Mystery Solved. And 2017, The Loch Ness Mystery Reloaded. In these books, Ronald Binns contends that an aspect of human psychology is the ability of the eye to see what it wants and expects to see. They may be categorized as misidentifications of known animals, misidentifications of inanimate objects, we've kind of talked about that, or effects, reinterpretations of Scottish folklore, hoaxes, exotic species of large animals. A reviewer wrote that Binns had, quote, evolved into the author of the definitive skeptical book on the subject. Now, Binns himself does not call the sightings a hoax, but rather a myth in the true sense of the term, and states that the monster is, quote unquote, a sociological phenomenon. After his 1983 research, he comes to the possibility that there just might be. Wait. Well, I got to reread that. After his 1983 research, possibility that there just might be continues to enthrall a small number of whom eyewitness evidence outweighs all other considerations. So he's basically saying that we're perpetuating this myth because we want it to be real. I can't stand the simple notion of those type of skeptical takes on it. I hate it. That's one of my pet peeves. I was like, well, we're simply seeing what we want to see. Well, I for one want to see a ghost. I haven't seen a goddamn ghost. I don't mean to drop the GD thing there. I can't stand that. It's like, nope, all of these, we're just perpetuating it. This is all man-made. This is just what we want. Therefore, it'll never go away. Again, these people, these thousands of eyewitnesses, what have they gained from it? Probably nothing but ridicule. And,
exactly, right.
And admonishment. And just, it bugs me, Mike. I don't want to go on and on and on, but I needed to read that because it gets under my skin, man.
Well, after this episode now, what we've talked about, I have actually come to the conclusion that I know what the Loch Ness Monster actually is.
Ooh, I don't have my drum roll soundbite up. Okay, Mike, hold on.
Well, the answer isn't worth all that.
Okay, what
it is
yes,
a lichen-covered iceberg, which makes as much sense as all the other pseudo-scientific explanations.
Okay, so it's
because there's plenty of lichens in Scotland.
And that's very well known for. Well, is this like a very tiny, teeny, tiny little iceberg?
It doesn't matter.
A portion. Is it a growler? That's what those are referred to.
It's a growler.
As chunks of ice that are floating on the surface.
Yeah, and then they tip over because it's.
They get too saturated. It gets too saturated with the water, and then flips over into So I get you, and that explains the undulations and the humps and
yes.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that as another one of the many possibilities. One of the many possibilities. All right, Mike. Let's wrap this up.
That's my last word.
Well, I was going to ask you again, though, man. What are your final thoughts on the legend of the Loch Ness Monster, and where would you rate it as a viable scale of 1 to 10? The viable plausibility, the possibility of it being what you and I have thought it to be for.
I believe in it because I want to believe in it. As simple as that is.
Well, there you go. Now you're helping that skeptic there. You're helping Ronald Binns.
But
you're making his point.
That's because I have my point that is just as worthy as his. But with all the sightings and whatever you want to think of that you've read about, or you put a lot of things together that you've heard over the many years and what you've read and everything, and the weighing the differences between yay or nay or whatever. I mean, I can come up with I'm going to say an 8% possibility that's 1 out of 10.
Okay.
Like 80%, and let me say 80%.
Okay, your math is way off there. You said 1 out of 10, then you said 80%.
Well, that's when it, like, you'd usually be thinking, do you 100% believe it? Then I'll say 80. I'll change it to that.
Okay, so you're saying it would be an 8 out of 10 as far as possibility.
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. I understand. Yeah, you even confused Macy there. She started whining.
Yeah, she's getting irritated.
I know. She's like, Dad, you're not making sense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, as I said at the beginning of the show, I've always been fascinated by Loch Ness. I absolutely believe in the possibility of this being a relic from the age of the dinosaurs, man. And this is not a dinosaur; it's a marine reptile. But who's to say, Mike? Perfect example: the coelacanth. Everyone thought the coelacanth was extinct millions and millions of years ago. And hey, guess what? I think like at least 2 dozen living specimens have been discovered since the 1970s. And who knows how many else are down there.
Right. There's been...
Oh, Macy, jeepers, creepers. I know. What were you going to say?
There's been too many supposed proven to be extinct creatures that have been found alive. Yeah. Why can't Nessie be as well?
I agree, man. 100%. And who's to say it just can't, come in and out of the loch, every now and then. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a refuge. Maybe it comes into, to hide. Who knows what's going on there?
Maybe there is an ocean opening from Loch Ness, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yes, it's fed through that. So, and why can't it be something that comes in at a certain time after? Timed out over a period of years, or every year it comes into the loch for breeding purposes.
Absolutely. That's a great possibility.
And then it goes back out to ocean to, have its offspring. So that's why it's not there all the time or seen all the time.
I'm just reading this real quick here. I want to make sure. Oh, Mikey froze up briefly, but that's fine. Just so we know, Loch Ness is connected to the sea via the River Ness, as we mentioned earlier,
yes.
The only outlet, and the Caledonian Canal. So there you go.
Yes. Did you hear what I said before we locked up about?
Repeat yourself.
Maybe coming into the loch from the ocean for breeding purposes.
Yeah. Yes, we did get that. Yep, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, and then they breed in the loch that they could have been doing for millions of years, going back out into the ocean to have their offspring. Mm-hmm. That offspring comes back to breed. It's like salmon or something in their own way.
I totally buy into that possibility. One thing that I need we should make clear here before we wrap it up is a lot of people who are against this latest study, the skeptics, talking about the baby plesiosaurs, the bones found in the Sahara Desert, and saying that this makes it possible that this creature could live in fresh water, therefore living in the loch. They say, well, the loch was created by the Ice Age, essentially, dug out by glaciers, and it was utterly frozen over well before any... It doesn't make sense for them. Too. Yeah. It was... I think it's... I actually wrote that one down, too. I want to make sure to get that one right. I know it had to have occurred within the last 10,000 years, and it just doesn't line up. Well, I'm not finding my notes, but just you guys, if you want to find out the facts, if you want to get angry at the skeptics. Another funny thing that I found, Mike, was, I didn't find it, but I reminded myself that is in 2016. You remember this story when a prop from a 1969 Sherlock Holmes film, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, starring Robert Stevens and Christopher Lee, was found at the bottom of Loch Ness. It was a prop of the Loch Ness Monster.
Really?
found at the bottom of the loch, discovered in 2016. Yeah, because it sank during the filming of the movie, and so it was just recently discovered.
Oh boy!
All right, buddy.
Crazy.
Well, thank you very much. We need to do that Patreon. So, Mike, let's take a break. We're going to take a long time traveling excursion. We're going to come back and we're going to be on fire for the New Jersey Devils, the Jersey Devil Patreon episode. But
win.
This has been great, Mike. This went by fast like it usually does. I can't thank you enough. Again, guys, we'd love to see you check out our Patreon page. We'd love to see you check out our new Patreon exclusive podcast, Retro and Randoms. We know you guys will love it. It's a different side of us. We're letting loose. We're having fun. We're talking about all things pop culture, movies, music, TV, all that good stuff. I released one episode the other day. We published it, and that's just one little example.
Yeah, let us know what kind of pop culture you would like us to dive into.
100%. Mike, until next time, what do our paranormal pals need to do?
Peace out, baby.